Favorite noises.
We are so cool right now.
All right. Yes. Hello,
Hello there.
everyone. Hello, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. Welcome back to the Star Wars May the 4th be with you on May the 3rd.
It's
Star
the fourth
Wars
for me.
Podcast stream. As you can see, we've got Nessie and John as usual, and we've got several returning guests, all who are known for their love of Star Wars. We've got the clueless fangirl Helen, Mary, who it's been a long time since we've had, but we're very happy to have you back, and of course Sanrixian, artist extraordinaire, and we are all here to share our love of this franchise. And I'm super happy. There's already 20 people here, which is pretty good for the start of the stream for us. So hello and welcome everybody. Nessie, John, Helen, Mary, Sanrixian. I guess I would say I'll introduce yourselves, but just say hi. Everybody should know who you are for the most part anyway.
Hi. Everybody else, hi.
Hello there.
Greetings.
Okay, you know what? That deserves a pop out for Mary for just a second for that hello there.
Do it, Mary.
Hello there.
So yeah,
Hello there.
I've got two rules for this stream. Rule number 1, there is no gatekeeping. Everybody can be a Star Wars fan, no matter how much or how little of this material you have personally consumed and or liked. Rule number 2, if there is a thing about Star Wars you don't love, that's fine, but that's for a different stream. We are here to celebrate our love for this particular fandom and franchise. So with that being said, I remember one of my earliest memories from my childhood seeing Empire Strikes Back in the movie theater, and it has been my favorite movie ever since then. Anybody else want to share their first Star Wars memory? Nessie, I saw your hand first.
Okay, so since I'm I don't know everybody's age, but I'm pretty sure I'm like one of the oldest in the group here. So my first grown-up movie when I was 8 years old was to get to go see Star Wars in the theater, and it blew my little 8-year-old mind. I thought it was the best thing ever, and I've been a stan ever since. It really just was my gateway into nerddom. I think it just opened the door for me, and I just walked right in.
Right on. Well, Mallory, I saw your hand next. I'm going to alternate, I'm sure, between calling you Mallory and a Sanrixian, so.
Just call me Sandra. It's the easiest.
Yeah, but I forget sometimes.
Okay, but why don't we all go around and share
Okay, John, that'll put you up next.
I love that lightsaber, man.
Sorry, I am going to do it. I will be doing this repeatedly, guys. Sorry. Okay. Now, well, honestly, I don't remember when I first saw Star Wars because it was always kind of a thing growing up for me. I do remember when Return of the Jedi was showing on HBO because I remember like the old style HBO commercials back when you had that super long intro logo that traveled like through the city and stuff like that. And, yeah.
Yeah.
But my first movie going memory was definitely the special editions when they came out in '97. I remember because I stupidly dug out all my old recorded VHS tapes instead of realizing that I could experience Star Wars for the first real time on the big screen. So I kind of ruined that for me, but still, I had a blast. That was my real discovery of Star Wars, and I was pretty much in Star Wars heaven from then until a little bit after Phantom Menace came out. I was super hyped up over that, and it's still one of my favorites because I was all caught up in Star Wars fever. But then, of course, couple of years later, Lord of the Rings took over, and the rest is history. But
right.
But still, I have really fond memories of my Star Wars mania.
Right on. Well, I'll shoot down to Helen next.
Yes. So Star Wars was my first visual memory, because obviously Lord of the Rings, but that was not out. So Star Wars was my first visual exploration of a fandom, and what an epic fandom that was. So I'm not that old. I didn't see the movies in the cinema, the OGs. But yeah, as John, my first one was Phantom Menace in the cinema. But obviously, I'm an old school girl, and I love the original ones. And yeah, there's nothing better than Empire. And I can name 20 scenes in there which are movie history for me. And yeah.
Right on. Now, Mary, you might be the biggest Star Wars fan that I personally know.
I grew up with my dad loved Star Wars, and he had them all on Laserdisc. So that's I love John's Ahsoka over there. And so for me as a kid, it was like this thing that I shared with my family. And then when I was in high school, the prequels came out, and as I have said on Twitter many times, I saw Attack of the Clones 4 times in the theaters. And those movies have just this, teenage sort of nostalgia for me. And the fact that I have my own kids and I'm able to share them with my family has been so great, because it brings back all the memories that I have of when I saw Star Wars for the first time. And like a couple weeks ago, I was live tweeting the questions that my son had for me while we were watching Empire Strikes Back.
I was following that thread.
And it's just so much pure joy. And so it just, the love that I have for Star Wars is just so much embedded in my earliest memory, and now to be able to bring it back and share it with my kids is just the greatest.
All right. Well, that tees you up, Sanri. Bring us home. You're muted, sweetie.
Whoopsie doodles. My family was also super into Star Wars, especially my dad, and he raised me and my brother like we were both boys. And so the first ones I ever saw were 4, 5, and 6, the original trilogy, and I saw them on VHS before they released the ones in I think 91 that had the John help me,
director's cuts.
Yeah, the CGI, the bad CGI. That's what I'm
talking about. Yeah,
in
97, yeah.
97, thank you. So I had watched the original VHS. Then I watched 1, 2, and 3 in theaters, and the rest in theaters. But yeah, I love Star Wars. I always have. Always, don't let this Jedi outfit today fool you. I'm a Sith at heart. We should know this. But yeah, that's my
right there with you, Mallory.
Yes, I know. See, the bottom row is all dark side, and the top row is all light side. And our names may be confusing.
Right.
We should swap robes, Sanri. That's all we need to do.
But our hair matches too. We did good. And
well,
So I was pulling some comments from the chat that I saw about people's first experiences. What? And Violent Messiah 666 says, watching original trilogy with my uncle back in the mid 80s, was 5 or 6 years old. That's awesome. I bet that was fun. And then Aziz says, my family had illegal copies somehow. So I watched Empire New Hope at home in 1981 to 82 and saw Return in the theater. Man, amazing.
Yeah, I got to say, too, I shared Star Wars with my kids, and now I have a granddaughter who's not quite old enough yet, but her mom is already psyched to share it with her daughter.
Yeah.
So it's just this. It's just this thing. It's generational. The first movie came out over 40 years ago, and it's still beloved not only by all of us who saw it when we were young, but you can continue to show your kids these days. Mary, I'm sure you're you're waiting. I mean, your kids are already watching the animated ones, right?
My son is obsessed with Lego Star Wars, which if you haven't seen it, it's full of so many hilarious jokes. It's great. It's like very watchable for kids and watchable for adults. And I'm trying to get him to watch Rebels with me. But he's mostly into the Lego Star Wars. But yeah, like I said, we've already watched the main ones. I think it's great. It's wonderful.
That's amazing.
So when the prequels came out, that was when my daughter was at the perfect Disney princess age to just fall in love with Princess Amidala. She just, every Halloween from then on, she had to be Princess Amidala. She loved her. So she was about, I want to say she was about 6 or 8 years old then. My son, of course, she was 8. My son was he was just a baby when The Phantom Menace came out, and we took him to the theater in his little carrier, and he was just the best baby the whole time. He slept, thank God. So we were able to enjoy the movie together. So, I mean, it's like Stephen said, it's generational, and I was able to, at least instill the love of Star Wars into one of my children. And every time, like when the sequels came out, she was in the line at the theater. Mom, I'm getting ready to go see. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's my baby.
Everybody raise your hand if you went as a Star Wars for Halloween.
I don't remember.
Oh, you did, John.
I normally go as a
sure I did
Tarantino
at some point.
character.
I went as Boba Fett, I think, in 1980.
I went as Princess Leia when I was like maybe 8 or something like that.
5.
I went as Boba Fett at 11. My dad made it for me. I was very proud.
It's so legit.
Isn't it like totally me though? I love him so much.
Yeah.
Tiny minor character.
I went to see 3PO when I was like 10.
Oh, that's dedication, though.
They had the cool mask,
Yeah.
Chat's going by so quick. Sometimes I click the wrong one. I love this. A 6-foot Yoda. Why not? That's what I'm pulling off right now.
Oh, I thought you had Baby Yoda sitting on your shoulders there.
No, my baby is a Targaryen, not a Yoda.
I'm curious, Steve Palpatine, could you have gotten hold of the child?
Yeah. Or I could clone it.
Dark. The child.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure we're all going to be flashing our various pieces of Star Wars memorabilia throughout this stream. It's just going to happen.
Unfortunately, all of mine is at work because my office mate and I have a Star Wars themed wall, and every year for Christmas, my dad likes to buy me some kind of Star Wars novelty gift, all usually toys.
And it's on the wall at work where you need feeling the most.
Well, it makes us look, like giant nerds, which we're trying to portray our legitness in the field I'm in. We've got like a shelf, and we've got like a 10 by 5 of just stormtroopers, which is awesome. It's mostly Empire stuff because he's on the same side as me. So,
Right. So let me ask, all right, easy tee-up question for everyone. What is your favorite of the Star Wars theatrical films? So you can't say like the Christmas special. You can't say like Ewoks Caravan of Courage.
Holiday special.
So can we do this so that in order, but then every time someone mentions a movie, you can't say it's your favorite?
Okay.
That seems fair.
And we'll go in reverse order this time.
Wait, hold on. I have to black out again. I'll be right back, though.
Okay.
Let's go on ahead.
So I'm going to start with Sandry Jade
Thank you.
Skywalker.
I'm going to go with The Force Awakens.
Okay.
You can hate me for it, but
there's no hate allowed
it makes
today.
me so happy.
Okay, that's a.
But I'm leaving my one tied for second for somebody else.
Okay, I think it's a fine choice. I think there's no wrong choices. Mary.
So I will leave my my true nostalgic favorite is Empire Strikes Back, but I'm going to talk about Revenge of the Sith and use that as my actual favorite. So yeah, y'all were like, Mary wants to talk about prequels. No, but I Revenge of the Sith is the one that I have the most emotional attachment to. I sort of tied with Empire, just because I don't know. I was a teenager. I saw it a bunch of times, and now that we've been going through the Clone Wars series, it's just renewed my appreciation for it. So and I have to stand the prequel love. So
okay. What do you think, Helen? You can't pick The Force Awakens or
I know. I would never, though. I would never. No. So I will leave Empire to you if it gets to you. I'm not sure if the other two will pick it. So no. I love
your favorite movie. It's not like pick a movie.
I know. No, but honestly, I do also I love Empire, but it ties a lot with A New Hope because that was, my introduction. This is where everything started for me, and I love A New Hope. It has one of the most memorable scenes, and for me it's like a circle, and it came a bit even with the new movies. It kind of, with Rey and everything, it kind of came full circle. So I'll say A New Hope.
It's a poetry. It rhymes.
Okay, we've got
That's a George Lucas quote, you guys. Sorry.
And so far, the Smiths have chosen one movie from each of the trilogies. So I'm here for it. I'm here for this broad universal love. John, how about you?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pick the one that was my favorite growing up because I alternate nowadays, but the one growing up was always Return of the Jedi.
Solid choice.
Yeah, it's the emotion of all the Vader Luke stuff, and plus you have the excitement of the rescue of Han Solo, and it just was the one that I remember I had the most fun watching as a kid.
You just want the Ewoks. Actually, you wanted to say the Ewok movie.
The one with the Ewoks.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. I love the Ewoks. I think they're great.
I was terrified of them.
The sail barge scene, with Jabba, is one of my favorite Star Wars.
Oh yeah, oh my god.
So, and that's why I can't get into the sort of dissing on Return, because that is when I'm thinking of a quintessential Star Wars scene from the original trilogy, I definitely always think of that one.
And the Jabba Palace scene with Leia and Jabba, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nessie.
Jedi Master Nessie.
There is no Star Wars movie that I hate. I love all of them. I didn't even know that there was any shade on any of them, because I was so internet poor, challenged for the longest time. I just loved it. I loved everything about every movie. I was so thankful to get a new Star Wars movie. I was so excited. Even I think it's going to be my favorite is The Last Jedi. I love that movie. I love the arc. I love everything. I love Luke's ending. That was just the most transcendent thing I've ever seen. I just did. I just loved it. And, I loved Empire. That was such, a strong movie for me, especially at the time. But I love The Last Jedi. So, that's
that
my
Red Room scene, man. The throne room
Oh
scene.
my God.
Oh my God.
Parallel, the second duel of the fate scene. Oh
And
my
that Rey and Kylo hand touch.
that was everything.
Oh, boner. Oh my God.
Yeah. The whole Raylo just gelled for me right then.
It's totally number 3 for me, and it's close. I go back and forth, but I totally agree with you. It has so many beautiful things.
I do love, Nessie, that you talked about the fact that you didn't that throughout all the movies you weren't aware of any, backlash and stuff like that. Because for me, that's what Phantom Menace was like, and because I was not really on the internet that much back in those days, so I didn't even really, I didn't get the memo that I wasn't supposed to like it, and
Yeah, I never got a memo
until about
I
2001,
receive it.
2002. So hence why I'm representing with my episode 1 shirt.
Yep.
Because I love it.
Love it. Man, love what you love. There is a Star Wars for everyone. There's a Star Wars for every generation. There's a movie that resonates with someone right to their core. I don't care if you're 6 years old or you're 60 years old. There is just something about them to love.
Yeah. And they now transferred it even to your living room, with Disney Plus and with all the even with Mandalorian, you have a new concept and a new form now, which is really cool. So everybody can find their place in Star Wars right now.
Agreed.
So, Steven, you're up.
I mean, come on. We take movies deep, and somehow only just now.
We left it for you.
Yeah,
We
we
left
were
it
leaving
for
it
you.
Find us up.
Left for me. I was supposed to have a hard time because all the good ones were already spoken for. I'm ashamed of all of you.
Hey, I like what I like, man. You
Hey,
like
my
what?
favorites are my
Empire
favorites.
Strikes Back is not only the best Star Wars movie, but it is the best movie ever.
Steven's right.
My man Yoda right here got his start there. My man, the Mando hanging out behind you wouldn't exist if not for said movie. It's also the one where Luke learns his powers. It's I am your father. It's all of those things that make it. I mean, it's literally used as a meme or a way to describe a depressing act 2 of anything. It's the Empire Strikes Back of whatever.
It's the beginning of training montages.
I admit that my panel is not as big a Star Wars fans as I am because they left the best one all the way.
Wait. Didn't you start off by saying there was not going to be any gatekeeping?
Okay, guys, count of 3. Raise your hand if Empire is your real favorite, and you just help Steven out with your second favorite. It's okay, John.
It's okay if it's not true, but like, all right.
Like, I recognize that objectively it's the best one. That doesn't mean that it's my personal favorite.
Well, see, I think mine
What was
is a
that?
conversation.
There's a place in the galaxy for everyone.
The Last Jedi is just a conversation with Empire Strikes Back. So, I mean, you can't talk about one without talking about the other. So, I'm still right.
Of course, you do guys all realize, of course, I'm kidding, but still.
Oh, come on. It's your channel.
I just thought that we didn't want to spend 20 minutes loving only on Empire Strikes Back. There's enough love to go around for at least 6 films for sure.
Yeah, and I actually really enjoy pretty much all the films. There might be 1 or 2 that I'm not as big a fan of, but I'll probably just not talk about those today. But even beyond the films, there's a lot to love story-wise, be it old non-canon expanded universe books, new canon expanded universe books. I see some Star Wars Legos being flashed around over there. There's video games, there's comic books, there's animated television shows, there's a Mandalorian TV show, which is actually pretty good if y'all haven't seen it.
Yes.
So I'm going to go first this time, and I'm going to pick The Mandalorian as my favorite non-theatrical Star Wars media. Then I'm going to just go in a random order. We're going to hit the corners. John, what's your favorite piece of non-theatrical Star Wars media? Video game, comic book?
You know what it is.
It's the Clone Wars. Clone Wars is what got me like super back into Star Wars big time. And I didn't start watching the show when it came on air. I did. I think I rented the movie, the Clone Wars movie, and it got fairly mixed reviews, to put it mildly. but I was entertained by it, and then eventually I did catch the first season on Blu-ray, enjoyed the heck out of it, and then continued to watch the next few seasons as it came out on Blu-ray, and just fell in love with it head over heels. And Ahsoka is pretty much my favorite Star Wars character now.
Oh, you beat me to a question I was going to ask later, but that's fine. You just throw it back out when it comes up again. Sandry,
I mean, look at it. You know,
right?
I mean,
Sandry, do you have a favorite piece of like non-theatrical Star Wars? You're muted again.
Sorry, I have a really loud keyboard, so I don't want to be like clack, 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 clack while I'm talking to you guys.
All right, I'll just remind you.
But I would say it's a tie between two things. The first is definitely the video games, like KOTOR. I played the ever-living bad word out of Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah.
So that was an online and MMO, and it was
Best
so much
game
fun.
ever.
Oh my god, I had such a good time. I was always dark side. I mean,
Of course.
don't even.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, like my lightsaber was incredible. I had such a good time. I played with a bunch of friends. I stopped playing it because life got real and whatever. But the second one would probably be like some of the extended universe stuff that I just learned about from the wiki.
Okay.
Just like I don't have because like I was really into the story of SWTOR, so it was like I would like when I was like, wait, who's this? I'd like look them up on Wikipedia and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I'm seeing some more love for KOTOR in the chat.
Oh my god, KOTOR. Vizzy loves KOTOR, and I saw
It's a
she's
great
here.
game.
So you can get it for $9.99 and play it on your phone. And I downloaded it like a month ago and like played through it in like 2 weeks when I couldn't sleep. So if you're looking for an awesome nostalgic thing to do, play KOTOR on your phone. It's great.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Too bad Animal Crossing is happening right now.
Helen, how about you? What do you got?
I didn't get the question. What was the question? Sorry, I had to rescue my cat.
That's
Sorry.
fine. The question is, do you have a favorite piece of Star Wars media that is not a theatrical movie?
Yeah. So also like more of a character in the books. So I do love Thrawn, and obviously now he is. I mean, I love Thrawn, but I met him first in the books, and then obviously he plays a big role in Rebels. And I just love that man because, I was always either into, he reminds me of Napoleon, like a blue Napoleon. I was always into battle tactics and all of that. And I mean, I obviously love the Emperor because of the politics, I love battle tactics and politics. That's my thing about Star Wars. And so I love Thrawn. I read all the novels. They're a bit boring-ish. So, I mean, you really need to like him and appreciate that character. But in Rebels, he was amazing and awesome. And, I love the Chiss ascendancy, all that stuff. I literally, oh my God, I can talk Chiss ascendancy for 10 hours straight. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a great answer. Thrawn is one of those, is to me maybe the EU character, especially from my generation, that was probably the most well known.
Yeah.
Like, of course, everybody knows C-3PO and all the people from the movies, but he did not appear in any material other than just a trilogy of books, I believe.
Yeah.
Until very recently, but he was a legend even when I was young.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to my man Emperor Vitiate from the games. I mean, I love Vitiate and all that concept of the the 1,000-year empire and that stuff. And the last movie was a bit. Palpatine reminded me of what Vitiate did. Kill all the sorry, it's really late. Kill all the people and then take all their power and energy. That was the scene was very reminiscent of what Vitiate did on that planet to be immortal.
Awesome.
Yeah. So these two characters, love them.
Nessie, what do you got? How about you? What's your favorite piece of non-theatrical Star Wars stuff?
Non-theatrical. Well, I fell in love with The Mandalorian when it came out. Sorry, Steven. I'm going to take that one as well.
That's fine.
And matter of fact, I've been rewatching it this last couple of days because I can. Thank you, Disney Plus, for giving us some new stuff to love. Thank you very much. And like for like the books, when and once again, I'm going to go real old school, is I love the Brian Daley trilogy that he did on Han Solo. It was just like, when I was a kid, Han Solo was my favorite character. I was like, oh, this guy, and I wanted to know more about him and his backstory. And so we got this little trilogy of books. And I'm like, yes, this is the stuff. It's like his adventures before he went on the infamous Kessel Run. So yeah, I just loved it.
Awesome.
And of course, Chewbacca.
All right, and that tees it up for our resident super duper fan. I think there might be visual aids for this one.
But Nessie, were you a big fan of how Chewbacca died in the Legends?
Oh
Did you
no,
like it?
no! We're not even going to talk. We're not talking about the stuff we hate the most in all the world.
Oh,
Mary, you're muted. Just letting you know before you start.
Sorry, yeah. So I want to talk about the Clone Wars multimedia project, which was the gap filler for what happened during the Clone Wars that happened before Disney. I love the Clone Wars that show just as much as John, but I have recently got into reading the novels from this time period, and then when I was a kid, I read the comics, and so these were the original Dark Horse Republic comics that came out, and I love them. My favorite arc in these is Quinlan Voss's arc.
yeah.
It's so good, and Quinlan Voss is one of my favorite characters. You know, super nerdy, kind of like deep dive prequels era character, but he's great. And they play with him a little bit in the new canon, like he's in the Dark Disciple novel, which I haven't finished reading, so I can't attest to it. But his arc in these comics is one of my favorite in Star Wars, and it's to not spoil it. It has a lot of similarities and differences to Anakin's arc, and I think that it helps really flesh that out. So not only were these comics part of the Clone Wars multimedia project, so were a set of novels. I just recommended to John Shatterpoint, which is a novel about Mace Windu that has this like Vietnam War, Heart of Darkness kind of style aspect to it, and it's super good. There's a whole set of novels that go with it, and then there was the original Clone Wars, like the original Clone Wars TV show. It's not the Clone Wars, it's Clone Wars. That's an animated cartoon.
Just to, if you guys aren't familiar with it, here's actually a picture of it. It's different from the Clone Wars TV show that we all know. It was 2D animation, and they were shorts, so they ran for a couple of minutes.
They're great.
Yeah.
And I just super recommend everything from this time period. I don't think it gets enough love. And I love it in the Disney canon simultaneously, even though they contradict each other. They're just great. The other thing that I stand all the time is the Revenge of Sith novelization, which if you have not read, you should read. It's, I think, the best Star Wars book. And if you are at all interested in the prequels or trying to make Revenge of the Sith better, then I think you'll really love it. Yeah, so that's my love. So,
and that's a really, again, it just goes to show you we could name 6 different movies that were great. We could name 5 different pieces of non-theatrical media that were also great. What can Star Wars not do? That's not really the point, but like, I don't think you can overstate its cultural impact at this point either.
Oh no.
No.
It has shaped generations of people.
Yeah, to the point that it's not pop culture anymore. It's just culture, which.
Well, Star Wars is almost. It's not. I'm not saying that it is equivalent to Shakespeare, but in a lot of ways, like one of the things that stories do is like give us a shared language for metaphors, and Star Wars absolutely has done that. Like that's what you were talking about before, Stephen. It's like, Empire Strikes Back means a like sad middle act, like all these kinds of things. Star Wars has just become part of the language that we use to communicate about things, and I think it's really beautiful and cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can just go, and people know what the heck that is. I mean, it's just weird asthmatic breathing, I guess, but
Yep.
it's literally touched like every. I mean, yes, we're all, well, 5 of the 6 of us are Americans, and let's face it, you're from Western Europe, Helen. So at least in the Western world, though, I don't think there's a society that hasn't touched on a very deep level.
Yeah. And, it forced kind of genres as well, cinematic. Books, I don't know, but cinematic-wise, it did. And characters like Leia, I think she kind of was, in cinema, one of the archetype females, and she was not, it was not about her being a warrior. It was very different, and that still stands till today. Or the funny, charming, how's that quote? What would you call Harrison Ford? Rogue, or what is the word?
He calls him a scoundrel.
Scoundrel, exactly. That was him. I mean, you have that, like kind of Humphrey Bogart in all these old 40s movies and whatnot, but it's a different concept. He was like from the wild West, and all these genres they created with these heroes and anti-heroes. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God! The love story between Leia and Han. I mean,
yeah. You don't need
scene.
boobs, and maybe you do in the bikini scene, but you know what I mean.
Just, I love you. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the best line ever.
I've used that quite a few times.
Same.
Well, I mean, I dreamed that Carrie Fisher was my therapist. So
That was a great dream.
Oh wow!
Really
this is the
helped
best
you.
dream ever, guys. This is the
I don't
best
know
dream
if that would be if she would be the worst or the best therapist, but it's bound to be one or the other.
This is Endgame Leia, Carrie Fisher, who has ascended and become one with the Force, and is now
she's a Force ghost now. I stand Carrie.
I'm trying to make like a positive symbol, but I don't know what to do with my hands. Some kind of Forcey symbol.
Plus sign.
Yeah.
Positive.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you, Helen.
She has ascended into the ether, and she's watching over us all right now.
Well, since you just talked about a couple of interesting quotes, does anybody have a favorite Star Wars quote? Because I certainly do. But maybe I'm going to let Mary go first this time. Since she went first last time. Although that look says I need a chance to think about it.
If you answer now, I'm just going to quote like 1,000 prequel memes that have no like actual meaning to me. I'm just going to say like make a bunch of hello there jokes.
This is pod racing.
My answer is my favorite Star Wars quote is from The Last Jedi. And it is the great, it's two things. It's like Yoda's whole monologue while everything's burning, right? The greatest teacher failure is, and, we are what they grow beyond. Like, actually, just saying we are what they grow beyond makes me really emotional, because I know people like Last Jedi is controversial, but the thing that I love about the prequels is that they were so much about this idea that the Jedi had stagnated and they needed to become something new. And that quote is it's so perfect. It just encapsulates everything this is so great. This just encapsulates everything that Star Wars is about. We are what they grow beyond. And I love it. I love it so much. So that's my answer.
Left
Great
dad.
answer.
I have a good one before I forget it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I obviously Darth Vader, my homeboy. I find your lack of faith disturbing. I mean, how cool is that in that scene? It's so cool. I might have used it a few times in meetings with my colleagues.
Nice. That's a good one too, because a lot of people know that one, you know?
Yeah.
How about you, John? What do you got?
I got nothing.
Well, fine. We'll just skip right over you then.
No, come back to me.
I know.
Somebody in the chat, Neil Stark, said, "I have a bad feeling about this."
That's
and isn't that the
brother,
quote?
by the way?
I know, and isn't that the quote that's literally in all of the movies?
Yes, I think it's in every single Star Wars movie at some point.
I've got one if that's okay.
Do it.
So this is how Liberty dies, with thunderous applause. That's for you, Mary.
It's a good one. Oh, but you
right up there with "I am the Senate."
Oh,
it's
God.
right up there for me with the path to darkness leads to hate. Hate leads to anger. Anger leads to suffering, or whatever that is. I'm sure I butchered it, but close enough.
So, there's so many good quotes in the prequels that are hilarious, which is why, one of the most popular subreddits for Star Wars is r/prequel memes. It almost has more subscribers than r/Star Wars. So there's just so many good quotes in the prequels.
Sand.
Oh God. But in the chat, it's really cool. It's a trap is also really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not bad for a little furball from Kate. Good.
Yeah, I've been throwing up several of them on this screen. There's a lot of great
power.
But nobody said my favorite one yet. Who hasn't said theirs yet?
No, I'll go. You guys have said a bunch of the ones that I would have taken. So I'm actually going to take a less one that doesn't stick out as instantly, oh, that's one of the most memorable lines, but character wise and sort of build up, it's one of my favorite moments, and it's a great line. It's actually from Darth Maul when the first time he meets Obi-Wan again in the Clone Wars after their battle in the Phantom Menace, and he says, "You have forgotten me, but I will never forget you. You cannot imagine the depths I would go to stay alive, fueled by my singular hatred for you." And it's just like a big moment, so much drama, and Maul's surrounded by fire in this moment, so it's just this big epic moment. So yeah, that's the one I'm going with.
Yeah.
Okay, good choice. How about you, Nessie? Sorry, brain locked up for a second.
Well, of course, Yoda has 10,000 million epic quotes, but my favorite from him is, "Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter." And it's so true. It is such a true statement to me, and it just represents everything. It's a distillation of everything that Star Wars is about, that the Force represents. It's just the perfect line, and
which is why it was the one I was going to choose too.
Oh, boo.
That's my favorite quote from all of Star Wars.
Well, it's mine too, so suck it up.
Yeah, it's fine. It comes from the absolute best movie.
Now you have a challenge, Stephen. We gave you an easy one on the first round.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now we have to go. It's just going to be another Yoda line of some kind. Luke saying, "I don't believe it," and Yoda saying, that is why you fail. I think that's a fantastic line. And it says a lot about, the will to succeed and the will it takes to move forward in the world. I think it's deeper than just, you have to believe in yourself to move spaceships with your brain. There's a lot more to it, as with anything. Or I'll just go with this is pod racing.
Oh God! But can I mention another one, because I love the prequels, and that's my favorite sentence out of quote out of the prequels, and it's "You were my brother, Anakin," and I literally cried whenever I see this scene. I cry. It's so good. It's so powerful. It's so good. It sums up everything that happened, and that scene, in at Mustafar, it's just epic. But
my favorite prequel one would be, possibly, besides the one I said, no.
Yeah.
That just, I
do or do
There's
not. There is no try.
There's this thing that the healing droids do when Padme is giving birth, where they make this sound and they're like, ooh-wah.
Oh God.
Ooh-wah. And I do that now to anyone who's having like a panic attack. I gently rub their shoulders and I go, ooh-wah, ooh-wah. I've done it to Jinx 1,000 times.
I think she says "Uba, Uba."
It is Uba. I'm sorry. I heard it wrong when I was a kid, and then when I saw the subtitles like a month or two ago, I was like, I've been living a lie.
Yeah.
My life is a lie now.
Or maybe the German version says
I want to
Uba.
talk about the mention of it's over Anakin. I have the high ground. My 11-year-old nephew was over at our house on Valentine's Day, and he's like, I want to tell you a poem. And he was like, roses are red, the dirt is brown. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
That is perfect.
That's beautiful.
It's
So
good
good.
to know that you guys are raising them right down there in Texas.
Just like one of my favorite Star Wars memories for sure.
Yeah, that's
One of the people in chat, J-Dead Redhead, says the Dio robot in Rise of Skywalker says, no thanks to all human contact. That was my spirit robot.
That
Like
is great.
Nessie's is IG-11. That one's my spirit robot. No thanks. Goodbye. Boom.
there's my spirit robot.
Oh,
Look, not my favorite character in the series, but this is the MVP of the original trilogy. The MVP. I'm telling you, the whole team would have died 10 times in the course of those movies without this little blue and white trash can following them around. Okay, favorite droids. I already said mine. Everybody want to throw out your favorite droid real quick? Kate Bertinsky wants to know.
Well, my son's favorite droid is BB-8. He's obsessed with BB-8. After watching Rebels, my favorite has become Chopper.
Ah, damn
So Chopper is super, super great.
Yeah. he's
so
awesome.
I cried at IG-11's destruction. I cried over that droid. So he's got to be my favorite now. I did. I cried over him. So if you cry over a droid, they're pretty close to your heart.
Mhm. And John, it's okay if you also like Chopper.
Yeah, it's Chopper. I'm sorry. I'm repeating that, but he's great. I love Chopper.
I mean, no hate for any of y'all, you know. Again, we're here to talk about what we love. The question is, what do you love? So, is Dio then your Sanri? Is Dio then your favorite droid?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, probably. I like BB-8, but Dio is definitely my favorite droid.
Okay.
Wait, the snarky one from Rogue One was pretty great too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
K2SO.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one was pretty great. But
Um,
Dio, I'm here
yeah.
for Dio.
L337 from Solo is also an excellent droid. One of the best parts of Solo for
Who
sure.
was the voice actress again? I forgot. She's a very no, it's the comedian, the British comedian.
Phoebe
Yeah.
Waller-Bridge.
Phoebe
Yeah, she
Waller-Bridge.
was
Oh my god,
great.
it's so good. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was Dio. Like, is it D-O or is it like
Yes, it
D-I-O?
is.
Can I pretend it's D-I-O, like my favorite singer, who's
Of
not really my favorite singer, but I love Dio?
No, Sandra, you're not allowed to imagine such things.
Like a lightsaber in the dark. Sorry. Ignore me.
We'll talk about Dio after the stream.
No, the thing about
The
Chopper,
singer.
though, is that part of the experience of watching Star Wars Rebels was watching the Rebel Recon online, like behind-the-scenes featurettes that they had after each episode, and where they had one of the I don't remember her name, but the female host of the Star Wars show. It did that and just sort of interviewed cast members and stuff. And Chopper was like the big giant troll of the entire special. So he'd just go around causing trouble. So that just added to my love of him over the course of the show.
Right on. I got slightly distracted because Visaria is like posting Tenacious D lyrics in the chat, and it's got me very distracted. But it's because we mentioned Dio and
Just
yeah. Anyway, did we ever hear Helen's favorite?
It's
droid?
I know he's super annoying, but it's C3PO.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
Because I mean, I don't understand R2D2. I don't speak that language.
I don't.
Although the concept is so cool that nobody actually understands what he says, but you do because of third character, like telling you what he says and all the funny noises as a kid. No, but C3PO, and there's one episode in where they kind of go to not really a spa, but him and R2D2, they have that one episode in, is it Clone Wars? Yeah, it's in Clone Wars, obviously. Yeah. It's really funny where they have their own little mission and whatnot. It's a good one. Yeah.
Question, because I don't actually know this. Can characters in universe understand droid speech?
Some can.
Okay, I thought so. Or I thought, is it like a force thing?
No.
Well, I think it's just becoming familiar that, this series of bleeps means that. The same way we can kind of, like,
it's a Morse code.
You can read.
To know them.
There's actually a deleted scene of Revenge of the Sith, which is just ridiculous. But it has Anakin actually speaking in droid, and the actual noise coming out of his mouth is like a beep that would come from R2. And I can't figure out how that would possibly work. But yeah, so I suppose that means that people can understand and even speak droid.
I love it.
So stupid, and I love it. Yeah, that scene is amazing.
I love it so much. That is wonderful. Thanks. I was curious.
Yeah, I imagine that in Star Wars High School, droid is probably an elective course that you can take.
Sith is forbidden.
Right.
Is that like science fiction class, John?
Wookiee is probably I've read a fair amount of fan fictions where there have been, high school AUs. So yeah, Wookiee would be a class.
Well, didn't Han Solo literally say he learned to speak Wookiee at
as an elective?
Like at the freaking learning extension at the library or something?
Yes. and what a great thing what a great elective to take for him, right?
Yeah.
Happen to take Wookiee, I would take Wookiee if I could.
It's mandatory class, Knut says.
Oh, you know what? That's what I'm remembering. I'm getting that confused with what Kelly just brought up.
It was an elective.
Yeah, Thor speaks Groot's language. Okay.
Should we talk about something that makes no sense whatsoever, but it is cute.
Mandatory. It's a Mandalorian, that's what.
But I also would submit that you can understand R2D2 to a certain extent.
Yeah.
At least when he's maybe not when he's trying to explain something technical or share a thought, but when he is having an emotional response, you can absolutely read that.
R2's meltdowns are just like.
Can we talk about how great it is that R2 has a potty mouth?
I love that. Everything. I love that little trash can.
My mom had a cookie jar of him that she won't give to me, but she's had it since the release of A New Hope.
Mm-hmm. Maybe when you're a big girl, Sanri.
I am a big girl.
Then go look. And I thought you were a Sith. I thought you would go take what you wanted.
That's my mom. True. I should.
I was going to say, I don't think that's my mom argument holds up if you're truly a Sith.
Well, I'm Sanri Jade right now, so.
Right. You're
I'm
walking that fine line
good
between the light and the dark.
You're allowed to feel bad about it.
Yes.
You can do it. Just feel bad about it later.
Oh, even in the video games, I couldn't be all the way evil. I had to have a little bit of compassion. I'd be that Sith that like doesn't care about murdering, like people and stuff, but I'd leave all the space creatures alone. Like I ain't doing anything.
Right. Well, if you're not enforcing your will on another sentient being, you're kind of wasting your time.
True.
You can't enslave a cow.
I beg to differ.
It really depends on whether you're a vegetarian or not.
I guess. Okay. Please forgive me for saying it that way.
I know what you meant.
I really don't want to go into a discussion about whether or not you can enslave a cow, but it's certainly not the same as enslaving a human.
Okay, so question about Count Dooku I saw, but you took it away too fast.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
This one right here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry.
We keep clicking on it. All right,
The question is, does Count Dooku count as a Sith, or is he a fallen Jedi?
He's both.
And he's definitely a Sith because he is actively taken on as Sidious's apprentice, even though it's sort of only as a joke, right?
Yeah.
Like Sidious's plan all along is for Anakin to be his heir, but I think it's pretty clear that he's intended to be like Asajj Ventress. She's a really good example of a fallen Jedi or like a dark Jedi. But I think it's pretty clear that we're intended to think of Dooku as a Sith. Now, Darth Maul is, I think, a tougher question because he's never a fallen Jedi, but in the Legends canon, Darth Maul is trained by, and if you're going by the rule of two, Darth Maul is trained by Palpatine while he is still apprenticed to Darth Plagueis. So he's always been just like an assassin. And that's another interesting aspect of the Sith. And you get that in New Canon too with the Inquisitors, is you have all these like servants of the Sith who are Force users, but are not actually, they're not Sith under the rule of two. They're just, they're just.
I have so got to read Darth Plagueis. I haven't gotten.
It's so
to that
good.
yet.
It's so good. I have the audiobook if you want it. I can share it.
I got to read it.
Yeah, if you want to.
John, have you heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Well, Stephen, it's not a tale the Jedi would tell me.
Yeah, right.
But can I add, Stephen? Can I add to what Mary said? Because I kind of disagree. I do not think Dooku is a Sith, because he mentions so often that he is very disappointed what the Jedi did, and how the Jedi became and whatnot. And I think the motivation behind becoming what he became is different than the motivation of I want to be a Sith. I want to rule the galaxy. So I don't agree. And he took an apprentice, in Asajj and all that. So he showed parts of being a Sith, but his motivation was different. I think he is for me, he's a fallen Jedi because that was his prime motivation, and he was angry at that. And you don't become a Sith because you're angry at your former colleagues and your former profession.
Maybe he's both, right? Maybe that's the right answer, is that he's both.
I do feel he is both, because he is, technically speaking, he is a Sith. He's a Sith apprentice, so he fulfills that criteria, but his motivations, I agree with you, Helen. So I think the answer is both.
Yeah, I think
I'm going primarily off the Revenge of Sith. So the Revenge of Sith novelization is my primary reason that I think he's a Sith. Because there's this passage in the Revenge of Sith novelization where he is saying that he expects to be Palpatine's heir. And then he feels betrayed when he suddenly realizes, oh, wait, Anakin was supposed to be next. It wasn't me. But I mean, one, that's not 100% canon, right? And I think it's open to interpretation. I think that's an equally valid way to look at it. I think it's just that particular passage made me sort of believe that. And then the other thing too is in so Lost Jedi, the Count Dooku new canon book. It seems like he makes this really deliberate move into the dark, and I don't want to spoil the end of that novel because I think a lot of people haven't read it or listened to it. It's like meant to be listened to as an audiobook. But he makes a really deliberate decision to try to gain power for himself when he becomes Count Dooku and reassumes his family name, which I guess I see as a very like Sith type motivation. Even if I think you're right, the way he gets there is totally his abandonment of the Jedi Order. But you could say the same thing about Darth Vader, right? Like it's his disillusionment with the Jedi that leads him to become Vader. So I think it's kind of questionable, you know?
I think that this would be a really good time for us to talk about Grey Jedi.
Yeah, but we're gonna
please. Qui-Gon, yes.
Hold on to that thought because there's two things I got to get to first. But we'll come back to Grey Jedi. First, I just wanted to weigh in and say I think I always thought of him basically totally as a Sith because he's got a Darth title. Literally short, it's a contraction of Dark Lord of the Sith. So as Darth Tyrannus, he is a Sith. I never even considered otherwise, although it's really interesting that you brought it up. I will probably put some more brain work into that to think about it.
I love how you come in with the obvious point while we've been debating. Like, well, I decide to counter with the most random minutia. So good job.
But we got there together.
Taking the Darth name and title is it's claiming, it is embracing, it is saying yes, this is the path that I'm choosing. Now where he is on that slope is always up for debate. The Sith always have a reason, always have a motivation. They always have that for especially if they were fallen Jedi, that they have that point that they separate from or have a difference with the way that the Jedi Order thinks. And that is their motivation. That is where they change. Now, where he is on that slope of being, I'm just kind of just starting down this slope of evil to all the way, like I'm going to become this undead creature that I'm going to rule the galaxy, is just a matter of semantics.
Right.
It's just a matter of semantics. It's where you are on the path. Now you can return, obviously. You can have like redemption from the path depending on how far you've gone. But once you're on the path of the Sith, I say you are a Sith.
Do we hear Darth Tyrannus in the movies?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Isn't the council speaking of that?
I know the first time it's said is by Jango Fett. He doesn't say Darth Tyrannus, but he does say Tyrannus.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Palpatine says Darth Tyrannus at some
point. I think so.
But I haven't seen those movies in long enough that I don't remember exactly.
I believe actually when Dooku returns to Coruscant and the two of them meet up, he calls him Lord Tyrannus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you want to, I mean, if we're talking about the title and the person actually embracing it, going back to, like I said, I haven't read the Darth Plagueis novel, but regardless of what Sidious considers Maul to be, Maul actually has ambitions in the Clone Wars to become the Dark Lord of the Sith with his brother as his apprentice. Yeah. So that's a moment of him claiming that for himself, even though he ultimately fails in that. But so to him, he accepts that until, of course, later when he realizes he can probably have more success in the criminal underworld. But we can talk about that on and on.
I love that we're analyzing the Sith rule of 2 as though it was a law. This is extremely my shit. I love y'all.
Well, and it's something I'm happy to come back to, but we've been going for about an hour, and it's time for me to hit the mid-roll, y'all. So,
Y'all.
I'm a Texan, born and raised. I'm allowed to say y'all.
I just love it when you say it. You make fun of me saying elven names in my
I don't make fun
English
of you
accent.
saying elven names. I delight in you saying elven names.
You better not make fun of her saying elven names.
Never. I would never dream of it. But yeah, we have been going for about an hour, so I did want to take this chance to say, first of all, thank you to all the guests on the panel for joining me. Thanks to everybody in the chat for showing up to share this time with us. I'm having a blast, and as per the usual, the chat is rocking today. You guys are doing great. I also wanted to say thank you to someone very special, number 1 patron in the land, ridiculous Ed Tollett, best patron there ever was, will be, or currently is in this exact moment. I will ask everyone to like the stream, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We do talk about nerdy stuff all the time, every week, same bat time, same bat channel. So there's that. And then, I just wanted to talk about what I've got coming up, and I'm going to give all of my guests a chance to talk about anything they've got in the works right now. So next week, if you will join us back here at Here Be Dragons, it's just going to be me next week, but I will be doing and I Know That Nerd with somebody who's not necessarily a content creator, but has worked himself into being a pillar of the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom, and that is Pat Spunogle will be joining me next week on I Know That Nerd. I'm very happy about it.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's a great guy. The week after that, John and Nessie will be back with me, and we will be discussing a character from The Expanse who I don't know that it's set in stone yet, but it's probably going to be Bobby Draper, Gunnery Sergeant Roberta Draper from the Martian Marine Corps. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. We've got other stuff coming up. I can't think of it. I think we're going to do Batman retro review later on.
Yes.
And who are you going to have on that with us?
Most of y'all might not know him, but he used to make some A Song of Ice and Fire content, Game of Thrones content back in the day. It's John Bronsteris, also known as Bronte. Gonna be a guest, and we're gonna talk about Batman from 1989.
That's incredible! I'm so excited for that.
Yes, yes, Lady Leaf, the original Tim Burton Batman with Jack Nicholson and
Michael Keaton and Kim Basinger.
Yeah.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yes.
That one, yes.
But yeah, so that's kind of what we got coming up. I think there's something else stuck in the middle there. I can't think of what it is, but
that's on John's channel.
Yeah. Oh, right. So we'll just skip over that. Well, I'm just going to go across the top and then across the bottom. Nessie, what you got coming up?
Okay, this Wednesday, I think I'm going to have like a Q&A session on my channel about 2:00. I haven't made the stream yet, but it's going to be, Ask Nessie. If you've got a crazy tinfoil you want to throw out, if you have any questions about the last couple of live streams that I've had, if you just want to come by and chew the fat, that's what we're going to do. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to have a good time. We're going to talk nerdy stuff, and it was going to be fun. Sandry, 2 weeks from Wednesday, Sandry is going to be coming on my channel, and we are going to talk all things dragon. It's just two fangirls loving up on dragons, showing our love, and it's going to be great.
We're so excited.
We're so excited.
I've never gotten a chance to actually yell about dragons on air. So
yes.
Cover your buttholes, kids.
Yeah.
Hang on to your butts. That's what I meant.
I'm like, Oh, that's a new one. I like. Okay.
What the heck was I saying?
Have y'all seen the thing going around on Twitter that's a girl singing about what's in your butthole? Like, it's like a little girl singing a song with a guitar about what's in your butthole. Look for it. It is not disappointing.
Okay.
Find that out. So, John,
Well, that's a good
Yeah,
turn.
John, what's coming up? Let's
Okay.
steer away from this giant ass iceberg.
what's in your
Wow.
Giant.
Uh,
What bird?
Yeah, so over on my channel, first I want to just say a quick word about the chat that I just had this past week, which I did a discussion on Hamlet, the 1996 Kenneth Branagh film, and I did that with the wonderful Shakes of Thrones, and we had an awesome discussion. So please, if you guys would like to hear that, please go check it out. It was great. And this next week, I haven't decided if it's going to be on Thursday or Friday because I may actually be going back to work this week. So I have to wait to find out, but it'll be at 2:00 either way. I'll be talking Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban with the wonderful Hannah from the Game of Owns podcast. I'm
Nice.
very excited about that. And then the week after that, I'll be doing the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance with Hey, don't laugh. I will. Okay. Oh. Really, Sanri? Really?
I laughed.
Trying to be serious here. Okay. Can I say
yes?
what's actually coming? Okay. Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, which I will be talking about with Ashea. I'm super excited about that. So, yeah.
I was worried you said with Stephen because that would make no sense.
No. I've decided to spare both him and Nessie.
Thank you, John. We tried. Okay. We tried. I gave it a couple of episodes. My husband loves it. So, I mean,
Left Dead.
yeah.
We know him.
Yeah. He likes those twisted little puppet things.
I'm done with.
He's
Oh,
done
yeah.
with me. Okay. Helen?
Yeah, Helen, what's up for you next?
Helen.
Yeah, so like Sanri, I did talk dragon with the lovely Dan, who's in the chat, voice of reason here in the chat, and we talked about, I have a channel for everyone who doesn't know. I'm not a mod here. I can't drop my link, but I think Stephen will do that later. I have a channel, and yeah, don't worry. And I talk about my channel is about Lord of the Rings, and it's very geeky stuff, not about the movies and that. It's about the Silmarillion and the extended, all the other books basically. And yeah, we took Dan and I, the handsome, yeah, exactly, the handsome Dan, another British discovery. He's so nice. He's a lovely person, and we took Glaurung, one of the main dragons and Sauron's Morgoth's little helper in the Silmarillion. Little elf. Yeah, and it's a really cool stream. I did this week. Oh my god, what day is it even? I forgot the concept of time and space. So I had a stream, I think 2 or 3 days ago with John. And I had another stream with Aziz, who's I think also in the chat, about dwarves. I know nothing about dwarves in Middle Earth, but yeah, Aziz and I had a good chat, and he found out some references in A Song of Ice and Fire chapters. So that was a fun talk. And yeah, I'll continue to drop lore videos on my channel. And yeah, that's it. It's the Clueless fangirl for everybody who's interested in talking. But it's very, if you don't know the books, and if you don't know the Silmarillion and stuff, you'll be like, what is this woman talking about? So your choice.
Yeah, but like the upside is, even if you don't know what she's talking about, hearing Helen pronounce the names of elves is still like one of the best things you can do with your ears.
It is the best thing.
Galadriel.
It's beautiful.
Mary, what do you got coming up or going on right now?
Yeah, so my project right now is I have a podcast with my friend Clint, and it's called The Learned Hands. And we talk about law and A Song of Ice and Fire. So even cooler than dragons, we talk about laws.
Hey, I'm Spy Force.
Hey.
Maybe we don't rival dragons, but we talk about laws. Our next episode should be dropping at the end of this week, and it will be about guest right. It will be a 2-part episode. So we'll talk about kind of the basics of guest right in part 1, and then in part 2, we are planning to talk about Wyman Manderley's Frey pies and whether or not we think that they violate guest right. Super fun question. Big shout out to Aziz, who helped feed us a lot of like really interesting questions that people had about guest right. So that we're a brand new podcast. This will be like our 4th and 5th episode. So if you're looking for something new and nerdy to tune into, check us out. I also have a blog up from Under Winterfell. I have essays about Jon Snow. They're very nerdy. Yeah, that's
They're
what
amazing.
hopefully one day, Clint and I have plans to talk about law and things other than A Song of Ice and Fire. So maybe we'll do a Star Wars episode one day. I would love that.
Yes.
You need to invite us
I'm
all.
here for
You
whatever
know
you
that
have.
we love it.
Yeah. Learned Hand is amazing. It is. If you haven't
good stuff.
listened to any of it, you should. What are you doing with your time?
I'm so happy people like it. It's extremely nerdy.
Well, and I'm
but
gonna-
we have a great time.
I do want to make sure that I say you do not need to be a legal expert to follow and enjoy it. I am not a legalese person, and I have loved the way the two of you have made it. You have examined it as lawyers, but you have made it accessible to us non-lawyers, and it's so good.
Yes.
We're really, really lucky that in A Song of Ice and Fire and in a lot of other media, there are people that pose legal dilemmas in ways that are really interesting to talk about and that are accessible. And that's one of the great things about pop culture analysis is that it gives us a way to like dig into these kind of problems without needing to do the boring stuff. We get to kind of start from the interesting parts, and I think it's great.
Right on. Well, that brings us to Sanri. What do you got going on? You got anything coming up?
I don't have anything that'll be on the internet anytime soon. I have a lot of logos and banner packages I'm working on for a couple people in the chat, and then or a couple people up here, and then some people like Joe Magician and Nauticast and Drawbridge Media. So that all has to get done before I can finish doing my own personal branding. So that, and then also the t-shirts will be out to pre-order soon.
T-shirts,
which is the Targaryen and the Greyjoy design, which you can find pinned to the top of my Twitter. So that, and also the Inkthology is about to go to print. So I'll have some new merchandise for you guys, which isn't content, but hey, it's stuff to look at.
And you just did some wonderful Star Wars fan art.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
If you could share that on your screen for the people who don't Twitter, that would be great.
Yeah, and I will say this too. Links for everybody are down in the description. Links to everybody's channels on YouTube, links to everybody's Twitter. So you should be able to find, if you're not following somebody that's on the panel up here, the relevant links will be down in the description of the video. They're there right now. Here, let me just pop that up real quick. There we go.
Look at that. Look at that beautiful art.
I don't have my notebook with me that has everybody who requested this, but I do remember a couple. Ben Solo was requested by Mary. Sabe was requested by John, of course, because that's Keira Knightley. Let's all be real. And Frank Bum requested Basilius Sean. So.
And I think that Ahsoka is my favorite, though.
Yeah, I think she came out wonderful.
The colors are amazing.
Look at that.
Thank you. I experimented with different ways of coloring, so it was kind of a practice thing.
The look in her eyes is so Ahsoka. I love it. Like the way that you captured her spirit is great.
She's really hard because she's her eyes she doesn't actually have like eyebrows, so you kind of have to build that crest ridge of the brow in there, which is a challenge like for Ventress too. She has eyebrows though. I love Ventress so much.
Oh my god, yeah.
She's my queen.
Yeah, I've started reading Dark Disciple, and I'm just loving it. She's
And-
such a great character.
So good.
And Bastilla, I mean, she looks so familiar. It's almost like she looks like Ray. Like 1, 2, 3. What's up with that? I don't know.
Crazy.
So
Mm.
weird.
Yeah, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, they're not alike at all. Nothing about force dyads. Nothing about that.
Nothing.
Yeah, what's a force dyad?
What is a force?
Who's a metachlorian?
We're not talking about stuff we hate. Actually, midichlorians are fine, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I'm just trolling a little bit. Oh, I made Mary hide her face. Anyway, yeah. So that was that. What were we about to talk about? Oh, we were about to talk about Grey Jedi, and then there's been a couple of.
You should ask us, like Mary suggested, what our favorite.
Okay, what is your favorite headcanons? Mary brought that up. Mary, do you have one you want to lead off with?
Mm.
Well, my favorite headcanon is horny Obi-Wan.
Yes.
Like most recently, there's been a meme going around that says that that Sabine's nephew looks exactly like Obi-Wan, and obviously they had a relationship, and so that absolutely delights me.
He's in Rebels, right? He shows up in Rebels, and yeah.
So I just feel like in the old EU, we know that he, from some of the young adult novels, that there was like another Jedi that he had a thing with. I don't know. Horny Obi-Wan, it's the best. Stanley knows, like, my one true pairing is Anakin Obi-Wan. We don't need to talk about it. You don't have to like it. It's just a thing that exists for me.
I admitted to reading Star Wars AU fan fiction, so this is a safe space. If you want to come at me, it's quarantine. Give me something else to do.
The gates have been opened now.
Yeah, I can't help after hearing that thinking of hello there and being like, that's the Joey, like, how you doing of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, but it's part of it is just what Ewan McGregor brings to the role, and then even more so than that, like the sass that they bring in the Clone Wars to his character is just, it's sexy. It can be. I think it's also very, in my opinion, it's a little queer sexy. Like he has this like bearing to him that's super awesome. And in my head, it's because Obi-Wan fucks. So
And he's a pansexual too.
Well, he learned from the sexiest man in the galaxy, which is my man, of course. Oh, Qui-Gon.
There you go. Yeah, he can lay it on.
Yeah, man. Qui-Gon's got it going on.
Oh yes.
Do you have some favorite headcanon to go along with your Qui-Gon?
No. My favorite headcanon going on, and this may or may not be some theory out there, I don't care, is Han's phenomenal crazy luck is an aspect of the Force. That is my crazy headcanon.
Yes.
I mean, that luck, let's face it, that luck is unnatural,
If you think about Finn and like he feels like bad things are going to happen, and he isn't he isn't force trained in especially The Rise of Skywalker. So he's like, oh, I want to tell you something, and what he was going to tell Rey is that he was force sensitive. Spoiler if you haven't seen that, sorry. But yeah, that's a parallel. That's good. I like that. I'm into it.
Oh yeah, that's my headcanon. Fight me.
Yes.
It's great stuff. Anybody else got one?
Yes. Darth Jar Jar.
Yes.
Oh.
But it's so good. It's such a good feeling.
Have you seen
I know it's totally not real, but I love it.
Yeah, there are cuts on YouTube, where you can they cut him in like in special scenes. It's so good. You have to watch it. It's so good. It makes sense. It makes
No,
sense.
it doesn't.
God, just suspend your disbelief and
Yeah.
in the magical land with us where Jar Jar makes sense.
He's
Jar Jar makes perfect sense as he is.
No, he
Star Wars
doesn't.
does not have to make sense. Come on.
all of these are true statements.
Mm.
I just
You know, I went to go see Attack of the Clones on opening night, and the moment Jar Jar appeared on screen, first somebody booed him,
yes.
and then then there was a girl in the front couple rows. She put up her hand and she went, "Go Jar Jar!" And everybody cheered for her. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I'm a Jar Jar supporter all the way.
Yeah, because she liked evil, so she was go Jar Jar.
She was obviously a Sith, so
Yeah, it was.
I support her now.
Yeah.
Okay, who hasn't gone?
I haven't.
Go.
I'm trying to think of a good hand. Okay, a legitimate one, but you know, I have to live up to my reputation, so it's going to feature Sabe.
No.
Yeah, but no, my actual legitimate headcanon for this, to make sense of something that doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense, is the fact that in Return of the Jedi, Leia talks about being able to picture her mother, and which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the only time she saw her was she was a tiny little baby. So my headcanon is that Sabe actually is around for her childhood, and because she looked so similar to Padme, and it's actually her that Leia is remembering.
Can I edit that? Just crackpot spinning here, but if Leia could see her mother, Leia is also force sensitive, and if Han was force sensitive, Padme could have been force sensitive, and Han does show up as a force ghost. And Harrison Ford said, "What the fuck is a force ghost?" Which is why I love Harrison Ford. But what do you think about that, John?
I don't think that Han showed up as a force ghost. I think that's Kylo's memory, and that he's processing through some stuff. I don't think that's actually Han as a ghost.
I think that the same thing. I think Sandler's point, even if you interpret it that way, could apply to Leia, because that was always my interpretation or thought of that, is that somehow she had dreams of her mother, and that actually makes sense because both Dark Side Anakin and Obi-Wan and there's all memories that could exist in the Force of Padme that would potentially prompt dreams, you know.
So
I love how
theory,
you all are taking delight in tearing apart my theory.
Oh, no,
we're not trying to tear it apart.
I feel like I
We're
was
trying to add. I was trying to add, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and I also want to add to yours, because I do think that Obi, and I do think that we will see that in the Obi-Wan series, that Obi is not just looking over Luke, but Obi and Bail Organa are still kind of connected, and Obi will go to Alderaan and see Leia, because he will see Bail, and they have a chat and discuss what they'll do with Luke and Leia. And maybe because the first scene or one of the first scene is "Help me, Obi-Wan," so there is a connection between Obi and Leia. Obviously they know each other, and so what could this be about? Maybe Obi told her about her mother. That could be.
Because you can dream about somebody that you don't really know.
Yeah.
That you've never really met or only seen from photos.
Yeah.
If I can dream about her, so can her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he could tell her about her, even, I don't know, if picture albums or cell phones were a thing. Holograms, exactly. Why not? I mean, she knew him, so why not? He was the person that was very close to Padme, and so could have happened. Maybe we will see that, or just somebody will tell about that in the new Obi-Wan series. Why not?
I'd love that. Okay, I think I'm the last one.
I haven't gone yet, but you go.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No.
Okay, so I am not familiar with a lot of the tinfoil that surrounds the older movies. I really only knew the the newest trilogy. So my favorite headcanon is that Ben didn't actually die at the end.
Ben Solo?
No. Yes, Ben Solo. I thought you said in Solo. He became like, because he didn't show up as a Force ghost at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's dead, but maybe Rey, as hardcore and like dedicated to things ever, could possibly find a way to like at least commune with him. Because that makes me happy, because that whole thing just broke my heart, man. They're like, oh yeah, you're a diet. Oh yeah. Goodbye. Right after the first kiss. It's just
Yeah.
So that's a weak answer, but I try.
Well, I'm going to throw out a couple of low-grade ones.
Okay, go for it.
First, I think Rey is a secret Targaryen.
I hate you.
Oh God. Where's this chat going?
In all seriousness, though, there is one sort of like tinfoily. I don't know. It was this way in the EU, and it's something I just want them to bring forward. R5D4 is a force-sensitive droid. R5D4 being the one that Luke and Uncle Owen try to buy, but then pops his motivator, which he does on purpose because he knows that he's got to get R2D2 and C3PO to Luke.
Oh God, that's so random, but okay.
You can't disprove it. Other than saying droids can't have the Force, which is racist. So,
Okay.
all right.
Or is it speciesists or sentientists?
Right.
Do we think people can I ask you
Organic
guys a
is.
question, because this is a panel that knows stuff, drinks and knows stuff. Do you think that Mace, is he still around? Is he still alive? Did he make it? What is your opinion on that?
He talked trash about Ahsoka, so he can die. I'm fine with that.
If he's alive, he's like hanging out somewhere on Naboo, drinking cocktails and pretending like he was never a Jedi. What do you think about that? Nah. What do you guys think, rather?
So, I'm just going to talk about the Mace Shattered book again and the Revenge of the Sith novelization. One of the favorite things about Mace is that they say he had an attachment, and his attachment was the Republic. He loved, he just stand democracy and the Republic. And so I always feel like it's one of two ways with Mace. Like, I feel like it's totally appropriate for him to have died if you view that as his backstory, because he died with the Republic. That was the thing that he loved. And so as it crumbled in front of him, he was going to die too, right? But like, I love the emo angst of him having to live through the Empire. Like, imagine what punishment that would be for him if his attachment, if the thing that he loved more than he should have was, democracy and his faith in the Republic, and he lives through it. Oh, that would be so sad.
It would be. I just want to address what Kelly asked here real quick. Two things. I'm not even familiar with the rant you're talking about from Freddie Prinze Jr. So like, maybe I'm just out of the loop here, or got my head in the sand. I don't know. But the other thing is, like, we're here to talk about what we love, not listen to somebody rant about something. So, and to be honest with you, I have nothing to say because I don't even know what's what.
Yeah, well, let's keep this positive.
Yeah, I mean, if Mace, if he survived his encounter and just lived on as a like you guys were saying, that he just put down the Jedi way, or stepped away from the Order, I could see him like walking the earth, like in the outer rim, somewhere far away from everybody, just doing random acts of goodness. Nobody knows who he is, the guy with no name, kind of like the Western genre. Like Cain, who just walks the earth. And I could see him doing something like that, He's just nobody from nowhere, just out doing like and not being controlled by the order. He can do as, his conscience allows him to do, because he kind of skirts along, that fine line between, the light and the dark path. So I could see him just out there, just wandering.
Yeah, but don't we think that he would fight? I think he is somebody, he couldn't live with that. I think he would fight. I think he would help rebels.
In his own way, in little small pockets, way out.
He can teach vapor.
Well, I think the other thing is that, so I think that, okay, again, for sure in EU, and I don't know how much this is in new canon, so Mesa's style of fighting is Vapod, right? And the thing about Vapod is that it channels the dark side and reflects it back to it.
Yes.
And one of the things we learn in Shatterpoint is that if you're using that, the stronger the dark side becomes around you, the harder it is to control. So, part of the reason I find it hard for Mace to still be around and using his Jedi power is I almost think the dark side is so strong, he wouldn't be able to use Vapod anymore. Because the cloud has completely descended to the point that it would just be too dangerous. As you see, in the Shatterpoint novel, there's a point where it's just too dangerous to tread that line.
Yeah, it's similar, when Frodo wears the ring when Sauron is more active and closer to Sauron. I think it's very similar to that. If you wear the ring thousands of years ago when Sauron was not there and not even the necromancer, it wasn't that powerful when Bilbo had it. So maybe it's similar. Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, look, it goes back to Lord of the Rings.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Helen.
surprised, right?
Thanks, Helen.
You threw in a Song of Ice and Fire references. Shut the fuck up.
No, everything goes back to
girl,
Lord
I'm
of the Rings.
celebrating.
Sorry, guys.
Let me talk about bling.
I was encouraging it, to be honest.
Good. But people have to go soon. I'm so sorry. For me, it's already May the 4th, since 1 hour and 40 minutes. I'm from the future.
Well,
so it's almost 2 a.m. and I have a business Skype call about finances at 7 a.m. tomorrow. So, blah.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us for as long as you could, Helen.
Thank
you.
Thanks, Helen. Love you.
Thank you.
You, my beautiful lion wife.
Always welcome back anytime, of course. And even if the topic is Star Wars, I expect you to work in some Lord of the Rings every time.
Every time.
Wouldn't be on brand if you didn't.
Sneaky me. I love you guys. Thank you for the invite and enjoy talking Grey Jedi. I love it. Throw in some Qui-Gon references, please.
We will do that. And bye, Helen.
Bye, Hel.
Okay, now
All right.
the party can start.
I'm actually not all that familiar with Grey Jedi, so you guys are gonna have to
Well, it's
guide
just
me
the
through
idea
that.
that you can. It's the idea of a Force user that doesn't follow the Jedi code or the Sith.
Alternatively, we could all just give our favorite characters, since Mary has to hop off soon anyway.
Yeah, I'm here for that too. But I just wanted to say thank you to Mary for digging into anything Star Wars down to the point where we start calling out lightsaber forms by name.
Yeah,
So,
that's my queen.
and then Vapad,
Yay.
form number 7. I'm here.
Shout
for
out
it.
to the purple lightsaber.
Sith Master Mary.
Sith Master Mary.
We got to go there. It's I could also talk about if we want to talk about favorite characters. One of my favorite details about Obi-Wan, and this is true in old canon and in new canon, is that Obi-Wan uses the most basic form, and the reason is because he's perfected it, that he's just so good at the basics, and he's just so good at defense that no one can touch him. And this is true in old legends, and then it's reinvigorated in Master and Apprentice, which is the new a Qui-Gon Obi-Wan book, and
read that.
it's so good that like Qui-Gon, part of his relationship with Qui-Gon is that he specifically trains him that way because he sort of realizes his potential and that he can just be so good at this sort of basic thing. That is an Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber form fact that I think is worth noting.
So Obi-Wan is a Type 1 enthusiast then? Is that what you're saying?
I think, is it 5? Is it 5 that he is?
Form 5, isn't it?
Well, it's been long enough since I know about them, but Type 1 is obviously the first, the originator, and therefore like all the basics of lightsaber.
Someone in the chat might know. I want to say it's like actually Type 2. Is it like Type 2 is like defensive form or something like that?
I think Type 2 is offensive.
Yeah.
But like, all I know is that I'm a Type 4 enthusiast, which leans the most on non-saber force power use during lightsaber combat.
And I think too the thing with Obi-Wan, and maybe this is different from old canon to new canon, is that the important part of it is just that he is like probably one of the best duelists ever. And they say about like Yoda had to create his own form to compensate for his height, and a lot of the more like fancied forms, like even Vapad, they're all meant to like compensate for weaknesses. But Obi-Wan doesn't have weaknesses really. He's just so good at the basic form. I don't know. I think that's fun.
Obi-Wan does not have weaknesses.
Sorry, had to do the thing.
I mean, but you're right. Obi-Wan got no weaknesses, baby.
Viserys says Obi-Wan Kenobi was an acknowledged master of the defensive form of lightsaber combat. But prior to the battle on Naboo, he favored a more acrobatic style of saber combat called Ataru.
So the other Obi-Wan, so good. The other Obi-Wan fact, and they practice all of them, right? The idea is that he's just a master of the basics. I think I like this point. His weakness is the inability to disguise or hide. I was going to bring up in Labyrinth of Evil, which is basically the prequel to Revenge of the Sith in the EU, has my favorite Obi-Wan quote. He's talking Anakin is talking about his destiny, and they ask Obi-Wan, like, what do you think your destiny is? And he says, like, infinite sorrow or infinite sadness or something like that. And it just breaks my heart. Like, just think about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, he is the saddest old man. It's so sad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but when you talk about his inability to hide or disguise, I just always think of that moment in Attack of the Clones when he goes to Camino, and he's trying to sort of play along with the Caminoans, and they're talking about the clone army is ready with 1 million more well on the way, and he just puts on this terrible poker face, and he's like, that's good news. And so I just kind of, pile that in with his inability to hide it. It's like
Clark Kent school.
Yeah, he just has no, he's got no ability to, like I said, have a poker face on. So
yeah, he hates having to lie, and like that's one of the problems he has telling Anakin about his mission with Palpatine. And the other thing is just like he's a quintessential good guy. He believes in everything good, and it's sad that this person who was so bought into believing everything about the Jedi is the one that survives and watches all of it fall. Yeah. I think it is not. So this question, I don't really think there's a canon answer to how much Obi-Wan knows about Anakin and Padme. Some of the legend stuff suggests that he might have known that they had a relationship, but I don't think he knew that they were married. I think
it's the same thing with. I'm sure the question is regarding a scene that's in the new season of the Clone Wars, I mean, I think he knows that they're in contact and that they're very close, and maybe even that they possibly had something going on. But he definitely, I don't think, thinks that they're married. I don't think he believes that Anakin has taken it that far.
And the other thing is that we know that Obi-Wan has had a relationship while he was a Jedi as well, and that Anakin knows about that. So if we're talking about Clone Wars. And so, again, and since that's canon, like, I think the best canon answer to that is that, well, Obi-Wan wouldn't tell on Anakin because that's his same sin. Obi-Wan too is prone to attachment. Obi-Wan too has had relationships. Obi-Wan himself is, he loves Anakin. He's attached to Anakin, even if you view that as a brother kind of relationship. We know that he's someone that's prone to take these things kind of, maybe that's his weakness, right? If we were to say, what's Obi-Wan's weakness? Well, just like Anakin, Obi-Wan's weakness is also attachment. So, I mean, I think he knows. I don't think he knows the extent of it until it's too late.
Great answer.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were so that's and I'm glad we did it because he's a great character. But would you say then that Obi-Wan is your favorite character, Mary?
I think yes. Like, I have other minor characters I like. I love Anakin, but I just love tragedy, and I love that. Love is the death of duty. I'm crying right now.
There it is.
Right in the feels.
Obi-Wan, just the way that Obi-Wan just sort of like seamlessly is integrated through the timeline, and the way that, to the extent it's retconned or whatever. I love the tragedy of his character, and I don't think Anakin's fall is anywhere near as tragic if you don't have Obi-Wan as his foil. And that's just what does it for me. I posted on Twitter a while ago that, speaking of references to A Song of Ice and Fire, the part where of Jenny's song, but with Obi-Wan, high in the halls where the old knights had gone, Obi-Wan danced with his ghosts.
Stop it, Mary.
And you just think about it, like the ones he'd lost, the ones he'd loved, the ones who'd loved him the most. It's so sad because that's his infinite sorrow. That's his destiny, is to remember the Jedi Order that he loved, that was his only home, to remember the apprentice he trained who betrayed him. And it's so sad. I love it because I love sad things. So.
Yeah.
You do.
Yes.
I do too.
I'm an emo kid. What can I say?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Obi-Wan is just he is one of the linchpins of the entire franchise. But I think it's because we've seen him at almost every stage of his life at this point too.
Yeah.
Like in the theater, we've seen him go from teenager with a rat tail braid as a Padawan all the way to whatever you want to call him at the end of his life. So
Ben Kenobi.
Ben, good old Ben.
And let me recommend the Kenobi Legends novel. And if people are really anxious waiting for the Obi-Wan series, which we're not going to get for another 2 years, the Kenobi Legends novel is really great. And if you like sad things, it's really bittersweet. It's very bittersweet, and definitely recommend it. It's got this Western vibe, and there's these passages where Obi-Wan is meditating, trying to talk to Qui-Gon, and it's really, really high quality stuff.
Right on.
I mean, in the original, in A New Hope, Obi-Wan, we see him right at the end. That's our introduction to Obi-Wan, is this guy right at the end of his life. He's dedicated his entire life, and he's a sad old guy that's living out in the desert, just watching and protecting, as we find out, the son of his very best friend in the entire universe. It just breaks my heart. And I fell in love with him right then because, I was missing, I needed a dad, and he was like the best. He would be the best dad in the universe. If I could pick a dad, it would be Obi-Wan to be my dad. So,
Well,
yeah.
if Mary's theory is correct, he already is a dad, probably several times over.
Well, he could have been mine. Yeah, he could have, you know,
You want him to be your dad, or you want him to be your daddy?
either.
Oh my god.
I mean, I've got daddy issues. It's known. So,
Okay. Well, we've loved on Obi-Wan quite a bit.
he was the first space grandpa. I loved him.
I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk about their favorite characters. And I mean, we can dwell on Obi-Wan if somebody else has Obi-Wan as a favorite character.
Mhm.
But I'm going to go to our other guest and ask Sanri, do you have a favorite Star Wars person?
Yes. Boba Fett.
Boba Fett?
Boba Fett. My backpacks got jets. I'm Boba the Fett. I bounty hunt for Jabba Hutt to finance
my vet. Wiki.
I chill in deep space. A mask
is over my face.
I deliver the prize bell, so narrow my eyes because my time I don't like to waste. Get down, slash you open like a tauntaun. I'm done. But yeah, I love Boba Fett.
I don't even know what's going on.
It's a rap by
You
MC
have to listen to it. It's so
It's
good.
amazing. He's done a lot of Star Wars characters.
I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, but I have loved him since before I knew what love was. He was probably one of the first people I had a crush on. And that makes absolutely no sense if you think about it, because he wears a mask the entire damn film. But my dad likes to remind me of that occasionally. But I just always thought he was just such a badass and cool, and you guys know my type. So I also really love Kylo Ren, obviously. And Ben Solo. I love Ventress, if we're talking female characters. She's my fucking queen. And Ahsoka, obviously. So, yeah.
Right on. Well, Mary just sent me a message behind the scenes and saying I guess you've got to go, huh?
Yeah, it's time for me to help put my kids to bed. So unfortunately, this is the problem with this time slot. But I'm super happy I was able to be here.
Yeah, I know it's not the best for everybody, but this is the one we've kind of planted our flag in. So
no, and I try. I'm happy I was able to be here. So
me too. It's always great to have you on, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
I was so happy I got to hear your love for Boba Fett and the Boba Fett rap. MC Chris, y'all.
That was just for you. That was for you, babe.
But yeah, I guess goodbye there.
Okay,
Goodbye
thanks,
there.
Mary, and we'll see you
Goodbye.
soon, I hope.
This conversation never happened. That was mean.
Okay. Well, John, Nessie, either of you want to take a crack at your favorite character real quick?
Obviously, and right next to me. But no, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, since I already said that Ahsoka was my favorite, and it is because we go on this long journey with her, and we really get to know her as she evolves as a character, and so I'm very emotionally tied to her watching Clone Wars. But I do want to take also the time to mention really the other character who, because of Clone Wars, has just sort of become something so far beyond what I ever could have imagined, and that is Darth Maul. And I mean, a character who barely has any lines in the Phantom Menace, and he's killed in the Phantom Menace, but they have him brought back in Clone Wars. He becomes, in my opinion, the greatest villain in Star Wars. He's just got so much dimension to him, and Sam Witwer's performance as Maul, it's one for the ages. And then he continues that on Rebels, and it's just such a tragic story because, and I think he's described the character as, this guy who keeps rolling the ball up, keeps rolling the rock up the hill, and then it keeps falling back on him. And he just keeps trying new things.
Sisyphus, by the way.
Yeah. And it's just, and you become really engaged with him to where you're almost rooting for him. He does all this despicable stuff, and he's always got all these evil intentions, but you almost want to see him succeed. And you're with him in every one of those attempts. And And like when I went to go see Solo, and spoiler alert, you know, the movie's been out for a couple of years, so I think we can talk about this. When he pops up at the end of that movie and he's referencing, you know, like his home planet of Dathomir, which is something that, you know, maybe movie only fans wouldn't get, but that's a direct callback to Clone Wars and his story on that. So I just remember jumping out of my seat at that, and it made me really excited for the potential of exploring that character going forward. And I love that we've got to go back now and we're seeing, you know, a very crucial part of his story in the Siege of Mandalore for Clone Wars. And honestly, it's just been so fascinating getting to watch him become so much more than I think he seemed at the time of the Phantom Menace to be a really awesome character, but there was a lot of lost potential there because I think a lot of people wanted to see him go on, and thankfully he has, and he's just become one of the greatest. So yeah,
great choice. I think I agree that in general, Maul maybe is my favorite part of episode 1, and the way he was just kind of one and done in that movie. I had higher hopes is all. Anyway, but yeah, Nessie, what do you got? You have a favorite character?
Well, I just gushed over my love of Obi-Wan for just like a few minutes ago, but I'll go ahead. I can gush about Obi-Wan for a while. He is the thread, I think, that carries through all of the Star Wars movies. You know, you're introduced to him in A New Hope. He's the voice in Luke's head, egging him on in Empire Strikes Back. He is the smiling Force ghost in, you know, Return of the Jedi. And then we see his life or his arc in the prequels and his relationship with Anakin and how that's a driving force for him and how he develops. And then his legacy is carried on by Luke in the sequels. I see so much of Obi-Wan and his when Luke is in the, you know, in the Jedi Temple, and how he's just seems so sad and defeated, and how his Padawan has turned out, and he is struggling with those same emotional issues that Obi-Wan was. It's just, I mean, chef's kiss there. How can you not just see Obi-Wan's thumb on the scale from the first movie all the way through? You know, that's just his legacy. Star Wars is Obi-Wan's legacy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, everything that everybody said about Obi-Wan up to now, I continue to agree with. He's one of the greats in the whole series. But I'm just gonna let that run across the bottom of the screen here for a minute and let everybody soak it in, because I believe this to be the absolute truth. Okay, I don't believe it to be the absolute, like, objective truth, but I do love me some Luke Skywalker. Like, that is
the scene where Luke is fighting. I saw a tweet of it this morning where he's fighting Kylo outside of wherever, the planet with the red salt in The Last Jedi. He is like defensively maneuvering from all of Kylo's like super aggressive attacks. And that's like a basic like principle of being a Jedi. You know when to defend and you don't attack. You defend and you protect, and you know, like, he's just that whole scene. Like, I'm so glad Mark Hamill came back and did it, because that was, not gonna lie, my favorite part of The Last Jedi.
I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah. And that moment.
Luke. All of Luke was my favorite part.
I think I have such a strong attachment to him because, I mean, Luke starts off as a whiny kid with big dreams who feels like he's never going to get away from his boring existence, which I could not tell you. Words do not exist for me to explain how relatable that is to me. Even as a young kid, Mom will tell you I was a whiny kid. I really was. It's not fair. But so maybe I just bonded with Luke over that on a subconscious level. But he, throughout my entire life, has been the benchmark of what it means to be a hero. Luke Skywalker. He wasn't perfect. He had to face his deepest fears. He fell short more than once. Got his hand cut off. Abandoned his training to go save his friends. And no, Viseria, I am not a water sign. I'm technically a fire sign.
Steven, yeah, no, he's not a water sign. But yeah,
I love me some Luke. I love the original, like the big three, but Luke has always been my guy. Always will be my guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that the Sanri that you mentioned, his sort of composure and sort of defense tactics on Crate in The Last Jedi, because actually my favorite Luke moment is kind of the opposite of that, where it's the emotional climax of Return of the Jedi when he lets loose. And that whole scene, just the dialogue with Vader going, if you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will, and the way he cries out, and it's just this epic clash with John Williams music. He brings in the chorus at that point, which is such, that's an unusual thing in the Star Wars trilogy. There's so much power in that. And I love the fact that at the end of that, Luke still comes back and he's a Jedi. I just love that. Yeah, Steven. I mean, I am glad that somebody said Luke, because it's very easy to underappreciate Luke as a great character, and he is.
I will say, I think that everybody's first favorite character is Luke, and then the farther you fall into the fandom, the more you're like, okay.
Maybe you go for Leia. Maybe you go
more.
I love Leia.
I'm so glad that in Rise of Skywalker they gave us that montage scene, which was apparently longer. So look for deleted scenes for that. But validating her as a Jedi, even the ridiculous part, and I think it was The Last Jedi, where she goes outside the spaceship after it gets blown up and just wills herself back in. I was like, all right, okay, but still, her power is phenomenal, and I'm so glad she had a lightsaber. She was a Jedi. That validates little Mallory right there.
There's no gravity in space. It wouldn't take that much for her to do that. Just saying.
All right, John.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we have already passed the 2-hour mark. And I know there's a Westworld episode not too long from now. Yeah. And I know a lot of our folks like to go watch that. So we're going to head towards the end here. Got everybody in the chat. Is there something that we need to talk about, that we just must talk about? It better be good, because we're already over 2 hours and there's a lot of you. So I'm going to be picky today.
My buns itch. Come on.
Yeah. And I have to pee. So we're gonna be cutting this here pretty soon. That having been said, thanks to everyone who did join us. Sanri, thanks for staying to the end. To Mary and to Helen, if you watch up to this point, thanks guys for staying as long as you could. Everybody in everybody in the chat, thanks for coming by, because it's so much fun. You
want to go one by one?
Yeah, sure, because it seems to be there's one topic here that everybody needs to.
Damn it, Padar! Don't freaking contradict my attempts at logic.
Oh, let's never mind. Finn
they were accelerated beforehand. All right. So people want to ask about the child.
Okay.
Like theories about where the child comes from. All I see is the child in the last episode. Baby Yoda theories. Stephen, can you run to the head? Oh, you can run to the head. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate you. So, Nessie,
Yes.
kick off with some Baby Yoda talk, and I will be back in just a moment.
All right.
Go relieve yourself.
Baby Yoda. Well, the child. Cutest puppet ever. He is so freaking.
Oh, that's a cute puppet.
That
Is a cute puppet.
That is a cute puppet with his little leg. You never even see his legs. He just walks. Oh, he's so freaking cute. You want to take him home and raise him yourself. He has got charisma of like plus 12. You want to protect and love the baby. So what is he? Well, we don't know what he is because we never knew what Yoda was. Yoda was, like a race.
He's a species. Yeah.
He's a species unto himself, which we were a biggest mystery in the fandom is what is the Yoda species. Mm-hmm. So of course, with the man, we're going to get another, so what is it? We don't know because we never knew what he was in the first place. Now, where did it come from? That's, there's the clone theory is like the biggest, theory out there because I think John and I, we were discussing this. The guy in
Dr. Pershing.
Dr. Pershing was one of the, from the.
Yeah, I think he has like a logo on his shirt or something that
right.
It has a connection to the cloning. So.
Right. Where they would get Yoda DNA from to clone, who knows? And we don't even know if that is actually Yoda material. But that's, that's what we got. That's what I've got, which isn't a lot. And I'm waiting, just like the rest of you, for season 2 to come out and start answering some daggum questions. So there you go. Take it away, John.
Yeah, I missed what you said, Nessie.
Maybe a clone.
Maybe possibly a clone, but he's the cutest thing in the universe ever. Cutest puppet ever.
So I think of the theories that I've heard, I like the idea because there is one female Yoda in the extended universe.
The Yaddle.
Yaddle. So maybe Yoda. Now, bear with me, guys. Maybe Yoda fucked. And he was now on.
I want to grab that audio and use it out of context.
Please do. Yes. I don't care. Rip me.
John, send me that when you get
burn
it.
Me. But so anyway, I think that since the child took 50 years to age to be what would you say? Like maybe he's a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old in human years equivalent.
Yeah.
So that makes the most sense to me, like logically, but I also think they could probably do something crazy like it's just a random yodeling, whatever they're
yodeling.
He's a yodeling and a yodelette.
Wait, has nobody else come up with that?
No, I invented that right now.
That's amazing.
I don't know. I just made it up, literally. So I'm sure somebody else has beat me to it. But I don't know. I really don't know what they're going to do. So, John, what do you think?
I have no idea. I mean, as far as like where he came from, I mean, it's the cloning thing. I mean, it makes the most sense just because I'm like, well, why would they put that little nugget in there with Dr. Pershing if that wasn't going to factor in? So I do think that has to do with it, but I'm just so excited to, I'm willing to let them do whatever they want to do as far as the backstory of the yodeling. But what I'm really excited about is just where the story goes from here and what happens with Mando and yeah, I still gotta call him Baby Yoda. Sorry. And Baby Yoda. And just in terms of if they find any Jedi, if it's Ahsoka, that they end up finding, which, you know, I have my mixed feelings about Ahsoka in live action because I like the animated form played by Ashley Eckstein. But that said, the story possibilities are pretty cool. And because the other option would be, I mean, they've got to run into at least one Jedi, I figure, and it'd be kind of difficult to do Luke because are you going to have Luke played by a younger actor that isn't Mark Hamill? I think they'll try to avoid that, so Ahsoka makes the most sense.
I've heard somebody in the chat earlier mentioned that somebody had been cast for Ahsoka from their
Austin.
Supposedly. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it probably will be.
I would love that.
Yeah, and given the final scene on The Mandalorian with that great reveal, you know, we've got to have the Clone Wars crossover into this. So,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I'm most excited about. Honestly, with that cliffhanger, I want freaking Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan, even if it's just a flashback, because it's a possibility that
room, Padar, room.
Yeah, no. Besides, she already has a role. They need to give her own TV show. Sabe, Rebel Spy.
Only you would watch that, John.
That is not true at all.
That is not true.
Star Wars. Come on.
Stop it.
I'm just messing with him. He knows I love him.
Okay, what was that? Okay, Bo-Katan, because it is possible that she's dead, because if what's the character's name at the end of The Mandalorian, the villain? I'm drawing a blank.
I mean,
Moff Gideon. If he has the dark saber, that doesn't bode well for Bo-Katan. So even if it's just a flashback, that'd be neat. But if she's actually still alive, I'd love for her to play a major role in The Mandalorian. That would be freaking awesome.
And remind me, John, in Star Wars canon, the last place we saw the dark saber was with Darth Maul, right?
Nope. Bo-Katan had it.
Oh, okay.
At the end of Rebels, she has it,
watched.
And she's proclaimed the leader of Mandalore.
That's amazing.
So Moff Gideon would have to have gotten it from her.
Yeah.
So that would be
he was instrumental in the takedown on Mandalore. So yeah.
Apologies, I haven't watched Legends yet, so.
Yeah, that's fun. But yeah, so I am very excited to see where it goes, and you know, I mean, not that Mandalorian shouldn't be its own show and develop its own characters, but damn it, you know,
Star Wars. Give it together anyway. It's Star Wars.
Go ahead, give me Ahsoka, give me Bo-Katan. I want those characters. They're great.
Well, I do want to, like, the question was about Baby Yoda, and I will address it. I'm not going to get off scot-free. I'm with everyone. Of course, I really strongly believe he is a clone of some kind because of the reason that John said. Dr. whatever his name is wearing the Camino and patch on his uniform.
Yeah.
But like, as to why, it literally has to be like Clone Army 2.0, but they're realizing that if they can have I think he is the I think Baby Yoda or Yodeling, whatever we want to call him. I actually kind of like yodeling now.
Yodeling.
But
the little yodelites.
I think that's the like the alpha version, the trial run to see if they can in fact clone and then subsequently control, because but I also think that it's possible that he was snuck out of King's Landing by Varys, and then a different one was killed by the Mountain, and Yoda is the actual actual heir to the Iron Throne.
Okay, now that you're just joking around, I'm going to bring something else up. I know that obviously this was a joke, a play on, the Keira Knightley pronunciation, but since you did type in Keira, I will say, as we're talking about bringing characters back, I so want a Keira Darth Maul Criminal Underworld TV show.
Yes.
That is what I want.
I'm just so glad everybody went there with me.
Foda.
Fiona, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for indulging my really bad, cross puns. Anyway,
have you not seen my options and everybody's options for yodelings in the chat? It's good.
Yodeling.
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 Were you doing Spider-Man? I was doing
Yes.
Spider-Man.
It's more like Spider Pig, but
Soup
only Yoda.
Soup some tea, drink some tea, does some Force stuff, saves his guy from an evil rhino. Watch out.
He doesn't drink tea, he drinks bone.
Everybody leaves the stream now.
Anyway, I think we've about reached the end of this
Clota.
Yeah, we've reached our quota of Yoda. So, and I need real food. I drank an entire Death Star worth of coffee, but I need some real food to eat too. So,
okay, man.
Anybody else got anything else they want to make sure they say?
Ben Solo was wronged. At the
I
end,
agree.
Rey deserved better. She deserved the dyad to be with her forever because that sucks because half of her soul was taken away. That's it.
Hashtag Raylo.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, he's part of her now.
Yeah.
He's always with her,
Yeah.
no matter what. I believe that. He's there forever.
Thank you, Mom.
Forever love. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, guys, this was a blast. I love doing this every week, and Star Wars made it easy because everybody loves Star Wars, and it also made it easy because we had a lot of really great guests. Since you stayed to the end, I'll say you were the best, Sanri. Thanks. You were the best guest we had.
I said the stupidest stuff. I
The
just
best.
apologized to the chat as soon as you said that.
No, we love you.
Thank
And
you.
everybody in the chat, thanks for coming by. Come back next week for my I Know That Nerd with Pat Spunoggle, and then we'll get back on some more some more Expanse content, some more nerdy movies, and I've got something penciled in on the schedule for the end of the month that might be a little bit different than what we're used to, but we'll talk about that more in a couple of weeks. Okay. So yeah.
Misa called Jar Jar Banks.
For me, okay, I will say it. Misa called Jar Jar Binks.
No, do it in his voice.
I know. Misa called Jar Jar Binks.
Perfect. All right, everybody, lightsabers out. Ready? I don't have one.
Mine is a green pool noodle, but it'll have to be. Thanks for coming by, everyone. We'll see you next week. And until then, you know what it is. Peace.
May the fourth be with you.
And be excellent to each other. And may the fourth be with you.